Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Copperfield's Books virtual event with Off the Page Readers Theater. My name is Jamie Madsen, and I'm the Marketing and Events Coordinator here at Copperfield's Books, and I'll also be your host for the evening. I'm thrilled to remind you that all 9 of our stores are currently open for both inside service and curbside pickup every day from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. As COVID-19 continues to endanger the future of independent bookstores like us, I just wanted to take a moment and thank all of you for your continued support, both online and in store. So a couple of housekeeping items before I introduce tonight's guest. We will be using the chat box to provide links to view upcoming Copperfield's events, links to purchase works by local authors that correspond to tonight's performance, and we'll also include my contact details for post-event information. Additionally, the Q&A box will be your go-to tonight with any questions or comments. The event format will feature a brief interview with creator Hilary Moore, then the performance piece, and will lastly be followed by a live Q&A session. We will try to get to as many of your questions as we can. If you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you will see an icon that says Q&A. Please post your questions and comments here rather than replying to me in the chat box. So without further ado, I'm thrilled to introduce one of the founding members of Off the Page Readers Theater, Hilary Moore. Hilary started her theatrical antics as a toddler, singing commercials to whomever would listen. This was followed by a childhood full of Let's Pretend. Her adult roles include many as an improv actor, as well as on stage with West County's River Players, Reading's Riverfront Playhouse, and Port Townsend's Bare Boards. I'm so glad to have her here with us this evening, and I know our Montgomery Village store has dearly missed these monthly events. So how are you tonight, Hilary?
I'm well, thanks. I'm excited to be here too.
Oh, good. Me too. So let's just kind of take a step back here, and I want to give people a brief introduction. I'm sure most of you on the call have seen one of their performances, but tell us, I see that you were founded in 2013 by you and a couple other members. Tell us a little bit about how that got started and maybe how it's grown or transformed over the years.
Sure. Well, Mike and Pat Hayes and I were together in a 24-hour theater piece where you make up the script on Friday night and Saturday you perform it. It was this crazy thing I'd never done before. Anyway, we had such a good time and we just bonded. And a few months after that, I think I coerced them. No, I encouraged them to start a readers theater group with me. I had been performing with a group in Petaluma, but I was interested in bringing it to a little wider scope in Sonoma County. And so we just started, and that was in 2013. And we've been very slowly growing ever since. We now have 6 members. Actually 7 members, including our money man. And we're staying small on purpose because we like it that way. We get along really well and we have a good crew and it just works for us.
Well,
no, go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I just was going to say, I love the way you call yourselves a troop of 6. And I was wondering was it always 6 people, or is that just the best kind of practice right now? How would someone break into your troop?
Good question. And a lot of times I get asked that, or I get asked something where that's the real question underneath what they're saying. We've had 5, and we've also invited other actors to perform with us for a given show. So when I say troupe, I mean we're the 7 people who choose the material and rehearse and make a show and book and do promo and all the stuff that you have to do to get a show going.
Wow.
So yeah, sometimes when we need another actor, we'll just put out auditions, notices, and that's how that works.
That's great. I'm sure there's lots of people out there wondering how to get involved.
Yeah.
So tell us just a brief description of what you guys do, like how many shows, how it's formed,
Sure.
That sort of thing. How to support.
Basically, we do 2 shows a year. Now, all bets are off now because of the pandemic. But in a normal year, we do 2 shows, one the end of January and one the end of June, and usually have 3 or 4 performances for each of those. And the reason we only have 2 is because our process is really lengthy. It starts out with us coming up with a theme. Sometimes that takes a little bit of duking it out.
So you choose the theme before the books?
Yeah, we choose the theme first. Yeah. And then we put out a call to all the writers that we know and all the writers groups that we know of and friends of friends, and people submit. And that process goes on for usually about 4 or 5 weeks. And then we have to read everything to each other, and select. And the selection takes quite a while, as you can imagine, because we might get 50 pieces, for example, and only 10 will be in a show. So we have to narrow it down, and then we get together and read aloud and see if anybody changes their mind about their favorites and so on. So finally, when we have the 10 or 11 pieces chosen, then we notify all the writers and we start rehearsal, and we rehearse for about 6 weeks, and then we put on the show.
So there's no real script that goes on? Is it mostly improv?
No, I'm sorry. I should have made that clear. This is kind of like a concert or a symphony of poems, short plays, and stories, memoirs. So people send their material to us, and we choose pieces that will fit together and fit the theme. It's kind of magic how that happens. I honestly can't tell you how, but sometimes an unlikely piece just fits in perfectly. So I'm the script wrangler. So if something comes in as a story, but we're going to do it with 3 or 4 or more actors, then I'll take out he said, she said, and assign different parts of the story to different actors. So we are reading from scripts that we may have altered a tiny bit to make them work for our theater.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
do the authors have any role in this at all?
Well, yeah, they wrote the pieces.
Well, of course. But once
we couldn't do what we do without that. And I really want to say that we specialize in Sonoma County or very local writers' works. There's just so much talent here, and we made it a point that we would use local works whenever possible.
I think that is just so great of you guys. I really love that part of your mission. So now, the obvious question that I'm sure everyone wants to know, how has the pandemic changed the way this program works? How has it changed, the interaction and the viewing of the audience, body language? How has it changed?
It's changed everything. It just stopped us cold. We were supposed to have a show in June, and we had to cancel it. We have the material chosen. We know what we're going to do whenever we're able to get back in person, but right now we can't. So what we're doing in the meantime is we're Zooming, just like everybody else, a couple of times a month. And each time we Zoom, the 6 of us read from the work that we're going to be performing for our next show. So it's not a full-on rehearsal because, like you say, we don't have the body language, we can't stand next to each other, but still we're doing what we can via a flat screen. And so we're getting to know the material really well, but honestly, I can't wait till we have live rehearsal. Everything happens, that chemistry among the actors and from actors to audience and back is so tangible, and it's not the same. It's not the same on a flat screen. It's just not the same.
No, I mean, I can imagine. It's definitely not the same even watching, Oh, well, let's talk a little bit about tonight's performance, which is titled Transformation.
Mm-hmm.
When did this performance originally take place, and how did you come up with the theme?
Well, coming up with a theme is always interesting and sometimes a little controversial among ourselves. Basically, I put out a call to all the people in the troupe and say, please send me 3 of your best ideas. And then we'll narrow it down. They have to give points after everyone's sent in a theme. Then everyone has to do a rating of all the themes that we've offered each other. And then from that rating, it gets down to the top, say 5. And then Jeff and I, because somehow we're just good at it, we sit together and say, this one, no, this one. And for some reason, we share a brain during that process, which is really interesting because we're so different otherwise. But when we do that choosing, we almost always agree 100%. So that's how that happens.
And when was it? Like, was this?
Oh, I'm sorry, January 25th.
Yeah, so earlier in the year, man, you guys are gonna have to stream like, do like 5 next year or something. Go all out.
I don't know. I don't know how we can cram any more in, but we didn't want to leave our audiences in the lurch. We wanted people to know that we're still here. We're still active as best we can be under the circumstances. And for whoever missed this show, they get a chance to see Act 1 tonight. And if they came to the show, they'll be reminded of what a fun show it was.
Right. And if they can't make that, they can watch our recording of tonight's.
Yes, I'm really glad about that because I've already had a few phone calls.
Yeah, me too.
Whining about the fact that they had something else to do tonight.
Well, one piece I really loved the quote you mentioned, I think it was your friend Jane, about transformation is not something you do, but something that happens when the conditions are right. It's such a relatable and poignantly relevant topic at this time. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, and what are your thoughts on this topic as it pertains to the current day, COVID and the fires and...
Well, the other day I was thinking about the Phoenix. And although I don't feel particularly Phoenix-like myself, I have this odd and maybe fantastic hope that somehow when we rise from the pandemic and are able to have a, quote, normal life again, somehow I really hope that people remember what it's like to be good to each other. Because I've been surprised at the patience and the courtesy that I've witnessed the few times I have my big field trip to go get groceries or to go to the post office, the very few things that I do go out to do. I'm always impressed at how people are behaving really well and kindly toward each other. And I just hope we get to save some of that when this is over. That's the transformation I'm hoping for.
I love that. And, it's crazy you say that. I almost feel like people have been a little bit worse in the pandemic than normal.
Well, they're starting to get pandemic fatigue now. And I think that's true, that people are just kind of blowing up because they can't take it anymore. But in general, I've been surprised at the patience that you wouldn't have seen before.
No, that's inspirational. So, I know you mentioned I will list in the chat box the writers versus the actors and directors. And then you also list the music, which it's so well thought out. I guess what, can viewers expect? Are there any last minute things you want to tell us before we take this experience and ride ourselves?
Well, I'm kind of a fan of just letting them get to it,
Right.
I really love this show, and sometimes you don't know until you perform it how good it really is.
I'm
you
so
have
excited.
to have that audience. That's really what sort of the gauge of whether something has come together in the way you wanted it to come together.
Oh, it's so great.
Really good writers. That's the beginning of all of it, of course. So we are so grateful for the talent.
Oh, well, is everyone as excited as me? Oh, with that, Jeff, why don't you go ahead and cue it up for us? And one thing I do want to say, I apologize to the audience. Zoom is playing a video off of Jeff's computer, and there might be some, delay in video. Maybe if the video's off just a little bit, I do apologize. And, we made it work, but it's not beyond us that it's a little bit of a delay in the beginning. All right, Jeff.
Everybody, and thank you always to our fabulous hosts, Copperfield Book, and specifically Leo, the event coordinator. They always make us feel so welcome. So thanks to Copperfield. So let's talk about the theme. Transformation sounds like kind of a big deal, doesn't it? People think, whoa. But no, not really, because if you think about it, it happens all the time, in big ways, in small ways. It's a milestone of many milestones in everyone's lives. Sometimes a major event of a day. Sometimes the turning point of a story. Sometimes just a turn of a phrase can bring transformation. So I want to thank my friend Jane, who sent this quote. Transformation is not something you do, but something that happens when the conditions are right. So our conditions are right tonight, and we look forward to doing this show, and I know you're going to enjoy yourselves. Thanks for being here.
You Have Won by Roger C. Lubeck. You have won! Prize number 314-159-365-359. December 7th, 2017. Walter Pye Wicket. 4577 Dealworthy Way, Norfolk, California, 94027. Dear Mr. Pye Wicket, you have won an all-expenses paid 2-week vacation in Kathmandu. As part of this special offer, you have a chance to win a prize worth $1 billion. Ready to start your dream vacation and collect your treasure? Call to schedule a mandatory 1-hour seminar at our Redemption Center before 5 p.m. December 25th, 2017. Redemption Center, 011-977-1448-9456. Congratulations, Charles M. Pine, Esquire, TPI, Treasure Prize Incorporated, 145786 Barus Putali Road, Kathmandu, 44604. Nepal.
Walter set a handful of junk mail on his computer desk and looked at the silver-framed picture Kelly Netherlander had given him on Valentine's Day. Walter didn't know why he needed a picture of Kelly for his desk. He had her photo on his cell phone, but Kelly insisted he did. They had been going together for 5 years. Lately, Kelly had been discussing the direction their relationship was heading. Did Walter really love her? Wanting to prove his love, Walter bought Kelly a new portable hard drive with a terabyte of memory. He wrapped it in an empty box of chocolates with a handwritten note saying, "Another sweet bite."
Kelly said something about Walter being so practical.
Walter was surprised to see a certified letter in the mail. Printed on the outside of the envelope were the words,
"Time sensitive."
Walter had never received a certified letter. What seemed most exciting was the passage,
"You are a winner."
Walter used a pencil to slit open the envelope. He had thrown away a publisher's clearinghouse sweepstakes letter once, thinking it was a scam, only to discover they actually gave out real prizes. He wasn't about to be fooled again.
Inside was a letter with, "You have won," printed at the top.
Walter had never won anything before except a coupon for a free car wash after his 10th wash. He sat down to catch his breath. A vacation and a chance at a prize worth $1 million. To collect, he had to call a redemption center by December 25th. Walter didn't bother to check the calendar on the refrigerator. It was midnight, Christmas Eve. He had time to call.
What a wonderful Christmas present. A trip to Kathmandu.
Walter set the letter down. Where is Kathmandu? He felt a moment of panic. The letter said Nepal. Walter did a quick search on the internet.
Nepal was near India, and Kathmandu was a major city.
Looking at pictures, Walter wasn't sure why anyone would visit such a crowded and dirty place.
Then there were images of gorgeous, exotic women posing in front of palaces and forest retreats and ancient temples. It seemed too good to be true.
Walter entered the company name into Google.
A picture of a steel and glass building appeared with the name Treasure Prize Incorporated in gold letters. Treasure Prize's website claimed that they were a major contest provider in the Far East.
If the reviews were to be believed, there was no reason not to call. Walter wondered what Kelly would think about his going off to Asia on vacation alone. He decided to call the Redemption Center first thing in the morning before Kelly arrived for Christmas breakfast. Walter planned to serve mimosas with breakfast. Champagne made Kelly frisky, and it had been a while since they'd had sex. Walter went to bed excited. He dreamed of having sex with an Asian girl who turned into Kelly with dark hair. Walter awoke in a sweat. It was after 4 a.m. He'd forgotten about the time difference in Nepal. Anxious, he pulled on shorts and a t-shirt and felt his way into the darkened computer room. Walter started his laptop and entered a date and time request for Nepal, 13.75 hours ahead. It was nearly 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Kathmandu. Walter raced around his apartment searching for the letter from the Redemption Center. He found it under Kelly's picture on his desk. He dialed the number and waited.
Redemption Center?
I want a vacation.
Oh, congratulations! To whom am I speaking?
Walter Piewicket. I'm in California.
No need to shout. Our connection is A-OK. 100%. Can you give me the number in red on your letter, Mr. Pickle?
Walter turned the letter over. There isn't a number in red, and it's Piewicket.
How about a 10-digit number in green?
There's a 12-digit number in black at the top. It reads 314-159-265-359.
Is there a dollar sign or a number sign in front of the number?
A number sign.
How very, very exciting. You are my first treasure winner. Congratulations.
Is that good?
Your treasure package includes a 2-week vacation at a resort in the Himalayas and the chance to redeem a prize worth $1 million.
How do I get the $1 million?
All we ask is that you and your wife spend an hour with a vacation specialist at our Redemption Center. We want to explain the advantages of international timeshare properties. After that, you spin a wheel. The top prize is valued at $1 million. Whatever else you win, you and your wife are guaranteed winners of a 2-week vacation here in Nepal.
You keep saying my wife. I'm not married.
The picture of Kelly stared back at him.
You must be married. The form we sent has a number in black. Black is for married only. The vacation is what we call a married adult vacation. No singles, no families. I'm so sorry.
Wait, I know what's happened. I am getting married. That's must be why I got a black number. Tell me about my vacation.
You and your wife?
A bride to be, me and my fiancé.
No, you must be married. And your wife has to be with you to redeem your prize.
So how does it work? How do I get the $1 million? He wrote 1 million on a scratch pad and the word Porsche beside it.
You will receive your reward after you visit the Redemption Center. But I must tell you, getting to Kathmandu is your responsibility.
What? Walter opened a new window on his computer and performed a quick search. A round-trip ticket to Kathmandu was $3,000, and the flight was 43 hours. Where am I going to get $6,000? The tickets cost more than the vacation.
Believe me, I understand. Most of our winners live here in the fall. Did you try Himalaya Air? They have lower fares.
Wait, let me look. Walter found a 56-hour flight with 4 stops. 2 tickets cost $1,800.
Oh, dear.
I'd still have to raise $2,000, and that's just for the flight.
What about wedding gifts? In Nepal, we give cash for the honeymoon.
That might work. Kelly has money coming from Ranch Shirley. What happens when we get to Kathmandu?
Most visitors want to spend a day or 2 in the city before going to a resort in the Himalayas. If you like, I can arrange for your stay at our luxury hotel, the Buddha. A full breakfast comes with the price of a room. The next day, you can visit the redemption center and claim your reward.
This feels like a come on. Why am I paying for a hotel?
I completely understand. But at TPI, we believe the best gifts in life are earned. The Buddha says, if you pay a little, the reward is that much greater. If it helps, luxury hotels are very cheap here. The Buddha is $35 a night, and it is next to our center. Nothing can be easier. Your paid vacation begins right after meeting with our vacation specialist the next day. She will arrange for trips to the Gokana forest and the Buddha Nil temple. We offer you 8 free nights in a luxury hotel. You only have to pay for your first and last night. That is less than the cost of 1 night at the Hyatt in San Francisco. To be honest, we don't offer many adult married packages. It sounds like a bargain to me. Perhaps you should ask your bride-to-be to marry right away, because you must act soon.
What do you mean act soon?
If you look at your letter, it states you have to call the Redemption Center by December 25th, 2017.
I only received your letter yesterday. That's why I'm calling at 4:30 in the morning.
I completely understand. But rules are rules. You have to book your meeting today or the offer expires. Confidentially, you can always cancel and get back your deposit, minus a small handling fee.
Can I call you back?
Of course, but we are only here until 5 o'clock. You have less than 10 minutes. When you call back, please ask for Charles. Otherwise, you will have to repeat all your information.
Wait, let me check. Walter scanned his appointments. What about the 3rd week of March, say the 19th?
Let me check.
The keyboard clicked as Charles typed.
There is a red-eye leaving SFO on Saturday the 17th. That would get you into Kathmandu on the 19th. The Hotel Buddha has space on that day. I can book your vacation seminar for the 20th at 11 o'clock. Would you like me to make all the arrangements? Or do you want me to just book the first hotel night in the seminar?
What are you arranging?
Round-trip airfare for 2. First and last night at the Buddha Hotel. And your hour seminar at the center. Your vacation specialist will arrange for your transportation and free nights.
What about meals?
Breakfast and dinner for 2 are included in the package. Lunch and any side trips will be on you, but we do offer coupons. I have to say, this is the chance of a lifetime. And don't forget, with the spin of the wheel, you could win a prize worth $1 million.
Walter underlined the word million on his scratch pad. Give me a price for the whole deal.
Just a minute.
More typing.
$2,057, not including handling and tax.
I'm not sure. Maybe I should talk to Kelly.
If you place the order with me now, I can offer you the adventure of a lifetime, all for $2,000.
Do you take a credit card?
Visa or MasterCard?
Both. I'll have to give you 2.
Kelly's reaction to the news that Walter wanted to get married to collect a prize in Kathmandu was less enthusiastic than Walter had hoped. She said she wanted to marry Walter, but she questioned the need to travel 8,000 miles and spend thousands of dollars on a honeymoon in the Himalayas. She reminded Walter he was afraid of heights.
Walter was undeterred. He didn't mention that he had bought the tickets already. He kept talking about the prize worth $1 million.
For a time, Kelly replied,
A prize worth $1 million isn't the same as $1 million. Can't you be happy with what you have?
Walter would have none of it. He was sure he was a winner. Eventually, his persistence prevailed. They were married the day before boarding their flight on Himalaya Air.
In Kathmandu, Walter showed a taxi driver the letter with the address of the redemption center. The driver smiled and said in broken English, "Just married. Very lucky."
Does it show?
The driver only laughed.
Leaving the airport, smells, sights, and sounds assaulted Walter like nothing he could have imagined. Nervous and nauseous, he closed his eyes.
But Kelly seemed to come alive. She seemed fascinated by the colorful, crowded streets filled with bicycles, taxis, food vendors, old people, and children.
The redemption center turned out to be a retail storefront with dirty windows. A sign on the center door said, "Closed," with "Where wishes come true" printed below. Across the street, the 3-story Buddha Hotel was above a fast food takeaway. As promised, their room was $35 a night. However, the bedding was extra.
Kelly upgraded to a room with bedding and a bathroom for $100.
Exhausted, they purchased beer and curry takeaway. They ate in their room, and then Kelly read resort brochures while Walter worked on his laptop, lying awake in their narrow honeymoon bed.
Walter listened to Kelly snore and wondered if this would be the pattern of their life together.
Kelly was up early and already in the hotel lobby for her breakfast of yogurt and figs.
Walter searched the internet for the nearest Starbucks or McDonald's.
At 11:15, they crossed the street, hand in hand, to the redemption center. Inside, they found a young man at a desk typing on a keyboard. He had on a headset. The center was empty except for a table and 3 folding chairs.
We are the Pie Wickets, Walter and Kelly. We have a seminar scheduled for 11.
Walter, it is so good to finally meet you. I am Charles Pine. We talked on the phone. Miss Netherlander, so good to see you again. How was breakfast?
He took Kelly's hand and held it.
Excellent. Thank you, Charles. Is everything ready?
I have a car and driver waiting to take you to the Gokana Forest Resort.
Wait, what about our seminar in the wheel spin?
Taken care of already. Miss Netherlander came over earlier.
Mrs. Pie Wicket.
Of course. Did you bring a copy of the license?
Walter pulled out a copy of their wedding certificate.
Charles is kidding, Walter. I took care of everything already.
What about the wheel spin, my $1 million?
I spun the wheel for you.
What? What did I win?
Something more valuable than money.
What?
Me. You won me.
I don't understand.
It's simple, Walter. Last year at work, I won a trip for 2 to Kathmandu. I knew you'd never go if I asked. Charles suggested sending you a letter saying you had won the trip. He said it had worked before, so here we are.
And Kelly gave Walter a big hug.
The adventure of a lifetime.
Don't I get a spin?
Oh. I went to one of these things, but it was on Vancouver Island, and there was no prints either.
Junkyard Dog by Margaret Barkley. Let's say, for the sake of discussion, that before you were born, you were made of light, or something like it. Let's say that you were not anything at all like this oddly shaped living thing, no offense, that you are now. But that something of you existed. Maybe you were just more see-through, or more vast, or fluffier. But there you were. And then in one excited, wet moment, the body you know began, grew for 9 months, and landed here. It was the luck of the draw exactly where, probably not on towels on a dirt floor. For example, my guess is that you arrived in a well-lit, sterile room, probably naked for just a second, and then you began collecting things. Because that's what we do. And now here you are. Here we are together in these bodies, living in a culture filled with things, in a country where the people in charge are like dumb, drooling junkyard dogs, protecting their piles of metal and drums of oil, even sending some of us to faraway places to do their bullying for them. We don't know how to be with this, but we do the best we can, collecting things, food, clothes, houses, electronic devices, and to-do lists, earning money to collect more things, and trying to have a good time in the process. Meanwhile, we start to feel a wee bit protective, like junkyard dogs ourselves even, guarding the piles of stuff that we've gathered, taking things a little too personally sometimes, and lunging at the fence we've built all around all of it. It's all so much that sometimes we have to hire insurance people and attorneys to help. But here's the great thing. In the middle of all this collecting and protecting, we seem to have been granted most of the time the ability to learn and to feel and to notice what was here all along, like sunsets, wild-ass fields of orange poppies, and the fact that having a body is actually quite wonderful, especially when we're rubbing them around on each other or dancing. We discover that loving someone else feels better than anything, and that the important stuff can't be collected at all. Somewhere along the line, there is that tin man moment when you know you have a heart because it's breaking. And you realize that courage is nothing like a slavering fanged dog. Courage is being willing to let go. Open the damn gate and share the goods. If you're lucky, by the time you're old, you found humility. Which doesn't mean that you're unimportant. It means that you're everything. Because we're all made of the same stuff. Some kind of light, something vast and fluffy, covered in skin.
Wow.
Separate Places by Craig Harris. She could have said anything she wanted to me.
It wasn't easy, that's for sure.
I mean, she did say anything she wanted to me. The things I tolerated, casual insults, the foul language.
Many women sit around hoping their men will die. They don't see any other way out except the funeral. Usually does die first. Most men die first. I know that. But I began to feel old, and it scared me. I was aging too rapidly. I could feel it. All of a sudden, I knew if I didn't do something, I would be the first to go. Develop a cancer or something. Oh, it would have been too ironic. Too ironic. All this time hoping and...
She could have said anything.
It wasn't just affecting my mind anymore. It wasn't just emotional disturbance. I was becoming physically sick.
She could have said anything at all.
At last, I finally said it. Because he was making me physically sick. I finally said it.
Why did she have to say, get out?
I told him to get the hell out.
All of a sudden.
It was no snap decision.
All so unbelievable.
He didn't think I was serious at first.
Hoping this was something that would pass.
It took me years to get up the courage.
Overnight. Suddenly, like a kitty litter box, me, dumped. I can remember, and I asked her to remember the good times. That was only fair, right?
I remember when we met. He told me how highly evolved he was. Oh, what a crock.
I was meditating a lot. Way back when. I meditated until I found a girl.
I might have believed he was evolved if he'd only had a backbone. Oh, it was all about spiritual freedom. Spiritually free sex.
I was exploring world religion.
He kept calling me.
We agreed to go for coffee sometime. I must have called her 20 times before we actually went out.
Odd. I never gave out my number. Why would I give out my number to someone I just met at the market?
She tried to play hard to get.
I didn't really want to go out with him, but he kept calling.
I don't like being put off.
Finally, I let him take me to the flea market.
For weeks we went out, but she wouldn't do anything.
I wanted to take things slow.
In an era of free love, and I get a girl who won't do anything.
He wants to be easy. We waited quite some time. I wanted our first experience to be special.
Finally, I got fed up. I told her she was either on this train or she was off.
He told me either I was going to do it with him or he would find someone who would. Isn't that romantic?
Oh, yeah.
He pushed me down on the floor. It hurt my tailbone a little, but not too much. It hurt, but it was a good kind of hurt, you know?
She was a wild one.
I was wearing a skirt and a pair of those boots that were so popular. He practically tore off my panties.
Wasn't long after that, and we were living together.
Oh, he loved movies. All he talked about was movies. He could spend longer telling me about a movie than it would actually take to watch the damn thing. Movies.
She was accident prone. A bit nervous, I suppose. Always breaking dishes and things. Occasionally she tripped, not falling completely, just losing her balance and then regaining it. There was a beauty in her awkwardness. A woman that lovely losing her balance or dropping a cup, then pretending it never happened, just moving on about things.
68. Just leave it on 68. Oh, he turned out to be so cheap.
She'd turned the heater up to 80, thinking it would heat the house faster. I could never get her to understand that the air came out at the same temperature no matter where she set it. 70 or 90, it was the same temperature of heat. Why couldn't she just leave the thermostat alone? I always kept it set on 68 degrees. The electric bills were astronomical. 68 was warm enough. 68 was fine.
Unbelievable. The control freak even insisted on controlling the climate, the very climate of our home. Unbelievable.
She took everything for granted.
He wanted to be a songwriter.
I wrote songs.
Always with these crazy, intense lyrics.
I was a bit gifted.
Always playing his guitar and making me listen to these crazy songs. Building castles in the sand. Oh, always so in love with his own lyrics. Building castles in the sand. Isn't that a good line? What was I supposed to say? Hell no, it's not a great line.
I was a featured performer at a coffee house once. I admit the place wasn't very full. I got paid $40 for that performance. The best $40 I ever earned.
Then he came up with a real winner. We must have been living together a little over a year. His big idea. I was so shocked, I made him repeat it. He comes out one morning, and he stinks. Oh, he knew he stunk too, but he comes out and he says,
Daily bathing is wasteful and unhealthy.
daily bathing is wasteful? He suggested he would shower no more than twice a week.
She kept wanting me to shower, and it was a big issue for a while. She wouldn't let me into bed with her if I hadn't showered. So many nights we slept apart. I don't think she understood that I often washed up in the sink.
He rarely bathed, and for almost a whole year, I almost dumped him then.
I compromised on the bathing thing. I think I may have begun smelling a bit sour.
Used and bitter.
When she was going away somewhere, I never took vacations. She would make plans months in advance, plan the whole trip, but never pack. Never pack until the last minute. Then she became angry. Angry at the bags, angry at the garments, angry at the event, it seemed. Rushing around, then late. Always a late start with such an early beginning.
He never loved anyone but himself. Never went along.
She always got so upset while she was getting ready to leave, even if it was just for a day or two. Wonder why that was.
He acted like he was relieved when I was going away.
I'd ask her to relax, and I don't think she understood how. Everything had to be a battle with her, and I told her so.
He actually called me a battle axe once, but only once. Believe me, I would not let him get away with that.
She became unusually upset by those words. Must have hit her close to home. The words do describe the way she seemed at times.
The way he would pigeonhole a person, me. Well, of course I had to fight. The way he tried to control everything, control the things I'd say, judging me all the time.
She never said the right thing, just blurt out the most inappropriate remarks, picking at me in public. I can see her now.
I can see him now.
She looks distorted.
He looks distorted.
We were married.
I married him.
I can't touch her now.
I love being loved, I suppose. The way he loved me. I had to carry his lard ass over the threshold. He and his friends got so drunk at the wedding, I don't know how I did it. One of those cases of momentary superhuman strength one reads about, I suppose. He doesn't even remember it. Me carrying him over the threshold.
She always told people that she carried me over the threshold, but it wasn't true. I could never tell what was true with her, even at the beginning. She'd seem to make things up as she went along, and once she said it, she believed it herself. Once I accused her of lying. She simply looked at me and said, "You can't prove it." And I just got all quiet. She was right. There was no way I could prove it.
He pouted, like a tortoise going into his shell. Oh, he'd get all quiet when he didn't get his way.
I tried to make the best of things.
There were times, though.
There were times when she made me feel like I could do anything.
I'll admit, there were times. But I wanted to share things with him, and he'd never listen. Not for long, anyway. His attention span was very short.
I'd like to give her something, do something special for her, but everything's broken down.
He gave me a watch once.
She never knew what time it was.
It was gold with the most beautiful band.
Never paid attention to the time.
It had all these, well, they look like diamonds.
Always getting sidetracked.
I took it to the jeweler when it stopped running. And of course, it turned out to be some kind of cheap knockoff.
Always sidetracked somehow.
I made him get him a new one. It was a pretty nice watch.
Lord, she wore all that body glitter. I think she had nymphomania. But only for a while. It went away. Restraint.
Why was I wearing all that makeup? Where was I going? Where had I been? I could never get dressed up, even if he was going with me. I actually started to believe there was something wrong with me. And I was afraid of how he'd react to anything I'd do. Nervous all the time, dropping things, losing my balance. He could be the kindest man on earth 1 minute. And then I put up with that. But now...
Exercising self-restraint. I can't call anymore. I'm like a woman. I'm afraid I'll miss her call. I'm actually afraid to be away from the phone. Nuts, just nuts. She hasn't called me one time. I dial her number, but I can't press the call button. I'm not allowed to do that. Calling too much, upset, saying those things.
He kept calling, kept coming over, booming at the door. Thought he could do or say anything to me.
Matters of public record. She knew that I was upset.
Telling me he still loved me. Then saying those things, calling that love.
I asked her if she still loved me, and she said no.
Thank God there are police, laws and police to protect people from that kind of love. I'm not going to put up with that ever again. Never again.
Restraining order. Why did it have to come to this? Police, restraining orders, no more calls. My house, can't even enter my own house. Making me sound ridiculous the way she did. Suddenly I was the abusive husband, resisting arrest.
I had legal rights.
Who wouldn't resist being arrested?
I begged him to get therapy. I even made the appointments, but he refused to go. Or if he did go, he wouldn't get honest.
She was always in some kind of therapy. Built her own world, a world without me.
And I was getting older.
The older she got, the younger she tried to dress. It was disturbing, embarrassing. All that makeup she wore, as if that helped anything.
Other men wanted me, and I admit sometimes I liked the attention. I liked to look good. They wanted me, even when I didn't want myself.
It didn't seem healthy.
I didn't try to intentionally hurt him. Well, maybe I did. Want him to feel something. Oh, it was all so unhealthy. Like trying to get something nutritious out of a bowl of Jell-O.
I found condoms once, 3 or 4 of them. We didn't use condoms. She'd deny her affairs, and with the very next breath asked me who I suspected she was with, as if she thought I bothered with such conjecture. All those years ago. Someone she met at the health club, I suppose.
We'd go out with other couples, but he'd always have to be the big shot. Made everyone sick trying to one-up everyone's stories. Name dropping the way he would. I did such and such with so-and-so, or so-and-so and he were such good friends.
She jabbered all the time, and then was angry with me if I didn't listen.
He doesn't really have any friends, no social skills. He never really knew how to connect with people.
She was always running around, and I was footing the bill.
Then he retired. Lord. Home all the time, glued to that TV, wouldn't face anything, wouldn't go anywhere.
I thought I thought maybe when I retired things would get better.
Senior specials. Senior specials at Denny's. Had to get there by 4:30. Who wants to have dinner at 4:30?
I could call her or go over, try to be kind, but I'd only wind up doing something, saying something again.
I can see him now.
I can see her now.
He looks distorted.
She looks distorted.
He came over here, intending to apologize, I'm sure.
I tried to talk to her,
Said he wanted to talk.
but there was no way.
There was nothing to be said.
No way to say it.
I wouldn't let him in. Not after he tore up the house the way he did.
Left standing in the doorway like that.
Didn't want him touching things.
Didn't want me touching things that didn't belong to me. I'm tired of apologizing.
This is okay. He'll be okay.
I suppose it has to be this way.
Each of us has our places.
Each of us has our places.
Our places to stay.
A Better Man by Linda Saldaña. Garrett quit his job with the intention of somehow becoming a better man, instead of just a man who hated his job. The question about being better was how? He knew his ex-wife would happily supply him with a long list of possible improvements, but he didn't want to stir that behind. It occurred to him that his transformation might shine more brightly if he became a reformed sinner. He could prepare for impending sainthood by first indulging in all 7 deadly sins in 1 week. That way, betterhood would become a measurable and imminently achievable goal. On Sunday, he finessed his comb over, squeezed into the never-worn purple polyester shirt given him by his ex, and splashed on some manly men's aftershave. Nothing helped. He was already so damn handsome. He put a check mark next to vanity. Early Monday, he discovered a still burning cigarette on the sidewalk. He ranted, he raved, he ripped it to shreds and cursed the gods for allowing such an evil transgression. So much for wrath. He devoted most of Tuesday afternoon to envying his brother, who had not only married the woman of Garrett's dreams, but now had 3 perfect children and a labradoodle. Garrett disposed of sloth by staying in bed all day Wednesday, stirring only to munch on the candy bars he had stashed in the drawer of his nightstand. Thursday night, he treated himself to prime rib, rare, 3 helpings of gravied mashed potatoes, and extra creamy cheddar cheese broccoli, followed by a thick wedge of pecan pie a la mode. He rounded out the meal with 5 more candy bars. So far, gluttony was his favorite sin. Mid-morning, Garrett's bank notified him that he was $835 overdrawn. He considered robbing a liquor store, but decided that that didn't qualify as greed since he truly needed the cash. Instead, he finished the remaining chocolate and rummaged through his dresser until he found and devoured the jumbo pack of Snickers bars secreted beneath his underwear in case of natural disaster. Garrett saved lust for Saturday, but in this, his options were limited. Somewhat uncertainly, he dialed his ex.
You want me to what?
She shouted into the phone, thus thwarting Garrett of his final sin.
Good Dog by Jean Wong. Bella came hopping into the kitchen. She took slow, dainty sips from Wilbur's water bowl.
He didn't mind that. It was the little turds the rotten rabbit dropped with each hop that bothered him. They kept getting stuck in his paw. No way was he going to lick those poopy crevices.
Human mom would wrinkle her nose and say, "Ooh, what a stinky dog."
And human dad would start rolling his eyes ready for his daily joke. Honey, do you think we should take Wilbur back to the pound?
An involuntary rumble escaped from Wilbur's throat.
Bella sat on her bottom, one foot scratching her long black and white spotted ear, head tilted as she gave him the evil pink eye. Then turned and flashed her bottom at him.
He hated that rear end with its fluffy bobtail, along with that damn Peter Cottontail song everyone cooed at her. He used to love the song. Easter Sunday was one of Wilbur's favorite days. Mom and Dad's grandchildren and their friends came to the house, plastic baskets stuffed with fake grass in their small, eager hands. Wilbur was a handsome golden retriever. His breed was known for its gentleness and ability to guide blind and disabled persons. As he helped the children find the hidden eggs, he loved the murmurs of approval from their parents.
What a guide dog.
Good dog, Wilbur.
Wilbur the Wonder.
He slumped low to the floor as he remembered last Easter. The sun had shone intermittently through thin clouds. A perfect day, cool but not cold. The girls were dressed in fluffy pink and purple skirts. The boys wore vests with clean white shirts. The children had at least 3 eggs in each basket and should have begun to settle under trees, inspecting their treasures. Instead, they clustered around Mom, sitting on a blanket with something in her arms.
Oh, she is so pretty. What a look.
Can I hold her?
Wilbur looked up and caught the scent of game. Big time. Some sort of pig. Squirrel. What could it be? He bounded forth, ready to track it down. A scream greeted his approach.
Wilbur, bad!
His mom's face was contorted in a look of horror. Wilbur shrank, mortified at this public reprimand. Nestled in her lap was the ugliest black and white rodent he'd ever seen. Gushing over a giant rat? Where did it come from? Turns out they called it a rabbit. They fussed over the length of the ears, the silky fur, the cute twitchy nose. Even thought her smelly bottom was sweet. Could it have been a year ago when Bella changed his whole life? Wilbur's tail no longer thumped with enthusiasm at each human footstep and greeting. When Dad wanted to play with him, a stick or a ball seemed a puny, worthless object to fetch. Running at the ocean, the feel of the cold, wet sand on his paws, nuzzling a human hand that held a savory treat. All his sunny dreams had ceased. Now his sleep was punctuated with dark imagery, uneasy yelps, shrieks, howls at a blood-red moon, faces frowning, fingers pointing. He even felt belittled when they said his name.
Wilbur.
What sort of name was that?
Visitors tittered and said, "Oh, how cute."
He heard Mom mention that he was named after a pig in some silly children's story about a spider. Why couldn't he be named Buster or Bullet or Blaze? He was a dog, not a doggy. He came from the proud Canis lupus family. Made to herd and hunt, not a pet to be fondled and babied. A pang shot through Wilbur's stomach. Another stress attack. He had no appetite. The weekly bone from the butcher sat untouched. He craved only one thing: spotted hare. He dreamed of rabbit stew, rabbit ratatouille, rabbit thighs, dough loaf, lapin chops, and breast of bunny. He tried to hide his craving, but when Bella was around, the humans noticed the gleam in his eye, the saliva that drooled down his chin. He became an immediate bunny abuse suspect on a permanent down boy restraint. He wasn't allowed to approach or sniff Bella. The backyard door opened.
Bella, I see some nice dandelions out there.
It was time for Bella's morning grazing.
Wilbur stealthily followed, needing some quality outside time himself, but
Dad quickly shut the screen door. Wilbur, no. You know you're not allowed outside with Bella. Stay.
Wilbur pressed his nose against the screen. He watched, restless, as squirrels vaulted through the trees. A blue jay drank from the water fountain. A gopher poked its head from the ground.
Bella did a few sharp zigzags, a grand show-off jump, then began to chow down. She chose whatever delicacy fancied her. Soft petunia petals, sweet asparagus tips, crisp radish tops.
Wilbur watched in gloom as she was allowed carte blanche to Mom's previously off-limits garden.
Bella headed toward a corner ivy patch.
Wilbur stood up. His tail stiffened. What was she doing?
Dirt was spraying from the corner. Bella was digging.
What was she trying to do? He'd seen the humans inspect each section of the fencing. The yard was escape-proof.
But she was digging a hole, and judging from the amount of dirt piling up, it was a big one.
Wilbur cocked his head.
Dad was in the shed.
Mom was in the kitchen.
Wilbur strained, his senses honed sharp and alert. He quivered with excitement. He saw the quarry continue to dig. Come on, baby. You can do it. Dig. Dig, baby, dig.
The dirt stopped flying. Bella stood completely still, suspended in time.
In a flash, he saw Bella duck her head under.
She wiggled her rump and disappeared.
Wilbur sprang to life.
Bella was out of bounds, free in the wild beyond domestic borders.
That made her fair game. With all his might, he hurled his huge shoulders through the screen door. A few bounding leaps, and he was at the fence's corner. In a burst of primal strength, he dug. Huge mounds of dirt crumbled as his great paws increased the size of the hole. He hit hard dirt with rocks. He forced himself to grind into the ground, the nails of his paws flinging the pebbles and earth aside. A few mighty scoops, and he burrowed through the widened tunnel. He managed to squeeze himself through just in time to spy her.
Bella was way across an open field, ears stiff and erect, tentative hops, heading for an acacia bush.
A wild growl issued from the depths of Wilbur's core. Fire raced through his blood. His legs pushed off in tremendous strides.
Bella, for the first time aware of danger, darted sideways.
Wilbur's lips curled into a livid snarl. His teeth hurt with excitement. The wind rippled through his fur. He was, at last, his true self. He was not some wussy, housebroken good doggy subject to the caprices of an inferior species. He was Blaze, big dog, supreme canine, wolf of the steppes, grand hound.
The rabbit bounded. In a panic, she made a clumsy turn. Her hops were erratic, uncertain.
The hunt was on. Wilbur gained speed. The ground rumbled under his massive stride. Wilbur the Great's heart soared with joy as the lust to kill drove him to one final soaring leap. But midair, in a nanosecond, something went wrong.
Bella, with an uncanny instinct, had flipped herself on her back, her belly exposed.
At the last moment, some ancient mandate from his wolfish ancestors made Wilbur's body jerk from its trajectory. Instead of landing on that plump morsel in a cloud of dust and blood, Wilbur found himself beside her, stunned, confused. Was it the DNA in his breed to always help the vulnerable and disabled that kept him from tearing into this exposed paunch? Or was it the law of the wild that decreed that an animal who took a position of utter submission was spared? The piquant aroma was driving him crazy, but Wilbur felt sluggish. His brain failed to deliver any definite signals. Maybe he could turn her over. Wilbur nudged her sides. He gave a few tentative licks of her tummy.
Bella shivered in ecstasy.
Wilbur recoiled, aghast.
Mom and Dad came running, and Mom grabbed Bella. Wilbur, oh, Wilbur, good dog, you found her.
What a smart, good dog.
Good dog.
Dad hugged Wilbur, each word accompanied with loving strokes around his ears and head. And to think we forgot what a good, reliable dog you are.
Wilbur gave a slight whimper. He was now the rescuer and hero. The future stretched before him. He saw the days and years plod by and knew that no matter how juicy, tender, and delicious this plump creature was, he would be forever Bella's trusted companion, expected to watch, guard, and protect her from harm.
That was great. It was like super funny. I had such a great time watching that.
Good. I had fun too. I kind of forgot how fun it was.
Yeah. So it seems that the audience must have been really enjoying themselves too. I've gotten some feedback, saying how great the presentation is, but no real questions. So, for all of you who might have any feedback or comments, go ahead and submit under the Q&A icon. Otherwise, I'm happy to, ask a few things before wrapping up. What are you currently working on, Hilary? I know it's tentative with, not being able to be in person, but what should we look out for?
Well, the new show is called Detour. And there are 10 pieces from 10 local writers. It's going to be a good show, but we can't say when.
Right.
All we can say is when we're out of this, we'll all be celebrating and we'll book a show as soon as we can when this is over.
Right. And do you have, if we wanted to try and do this again, do you have others
oh yes
videotaped? Great.
Oh yes, we do. Well, first of all, there's Act 2 from that same show.
Okay, good.
But we have had videos going back to maybe not our first show, but anyway, going back several years. We've had videos taken thanks to John Christian of most of our shows, so we have material.
That's amazing. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us this evening. And, I'm getting lots of private messages here saying thank you to you. And then there was quite a few people in the beginning checking in. I don't know if you saw in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. We've got one comment here from Cheryl. Delightful. I loved them all. Touching, funny, enlightening, and very well done. I agree, Cheryl. Oh, well, for all of you who attended and even those who didn't, we are taping this and I will be sending around a follow-up email that will include a link to this shareable recording, but will also include links to purchase the books and acts that were associated with the performance. So look out for that. Maybe just to wrap it up, Benjamin's wondering, have one of the writers, Kathleen maybe, explain what is the process of writing like? So it's kind of difficult because we only have Hilary here, but maybe that's something we can factor into the next.
Ask me that question again, because I am also a writer.
He's wondering, he was interested in one of the writers explaining what the process of writing is like.
Oh, okay, I see. Well, just to keep in mind that we send out the theme and writers send in works that they've already written.
Right.
They don't write on command, at least I don't think so. They just have a wealth of stuff in their bags, in their books, and they send something that they think would fit.
I am going to put in the chat right now a link to your website for those of you, and I will include that as well in the follow-up email. Again, thank you to all of you. It was, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for making it easy for us. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Of course. Well, we'll see you soon and hope to have all of you back really soon. Have a great evening.
Thank you. It
Good
was
night.
fun. Good night.